Hey, Jeff Lerner here, and today we are talking about getting out of your comfort zone. This is one of the things that I tackle the most with people in the work that I do. You know, if you've seen my videos, you know that I'm committed to helping people have an awesome life. When I'm not shooting videos, I spend a decent amount of my time actually coaching people and working with them on having an awesome life. And I have found that the enemy of having an awesome life is the comfort zone. So today we're going to talk about getting out of it. Okay, so let's talk about comfort zones. So here's my experience with a lot of people's is we've kind of gotten to a place culturally in terms of our collective consciousness where we know that, you know, as they say, the walls of your comfort zone are plastered with excuses, right? That we have kind of this box that a lot of us tend to live in, and that by the way, that's not my quote. That quote I stole from Jen Sincero in a book called You're a Badass at Making Money. I know there's a big thing on the internet right now about properly attributing your quotes, so don't want to get caught in that situation. But anyways, we all have this thing, this comfort zone, and we know that there's like, you know, these walls that are literally plastered with our excuses, that we give ourselves these reasons why we don't step out of them, and we've all kind of learned that that's not a formula for having a really, you know, good life. It's almost like a thing of shame, like, you know, it used to be that the comfort zone was the dream, right? Most people, what they aspired to was the comfort zone. But now society's kind of evolved to where it's not considered a flattering or a positive thing to say, oh, so-and-so lives in their comfort zone all the time. We're like expected to step out of our comfort zone. So where we are now is people will do these things. They'll you know, run a Spartan race, or they'll sign up for a dating app, or they'll do something that's, you know, sort of like the token bold act of their life to step out of their comfort zone, so that almost like they can check the box of like, well, I didn't stay in my comfort zone, I stepped out. It's almost like stepping out of your comfort zone temporarily has become the new comfort zone, right? People are now uncomfortable saying or admitting that they live exclusively in their comfort zone. So they're more comfortable saying, well, oh, I do bold things, I step out of my comfort zone, and it's just the new comfort zone. The reality is, most people do not live on the edge, do not ever find what they're really capable of. Most people do not push themselves to extraordinary lengths. Most people do not go beyond the point of generally accepted risk, where their friends and their family and the people that are more concerned with their safety than with their deepest longing for fulfillment and spiritual, you know, happiness. They say, oh, don't do that. Don't take a risk. You know, don't rock the boat. Don't, you know, what if it doesn't work? Or think about the consequences, or, you know, whatever. Most people we don't really stretch out and stretch the bounds of what's possible with this life that we're given. That's just not how most people are. For most people, stepping out of the comfort zone is this thing that we do. You know, it's scheduled on the weekends, and we do it, and it's adventurous, and we post about it on Facebook. This is our wild and crazy day, stepping out of the comfort zone, or now it's probably more popular to post on Instagram than Facebook, whatever. And that was it. That was our dalliance with stepping out of the comfort zone. But the thing is, even when we're out of the comfort zone, our comfort zone's really like right there. I mean, we can look right back. It's like 12 feet away. We go, oh, shoot, things are really getting hairy. Let me dart back to the comfort zone. I mean, financial risk, emotional risk, personal risk. We're not really taking it to the point where there's no turning back. Most people that say they stepped out of their comfort zone, they didn't really fundamentally upend anything major in their life. I'm going to suggest that there's a whole other level of getting out of our comfort zone that isn't even really being talked about very often. There's a few kind of extreme outlier types that talk about it, that really get it. I'm talking like, you know, extreme entrepreneurs, people that have bet it all on these big ideas and worked, you know, to ungodly levels and depths of intensity and sacrifice and blood, sweat, and tears that most of us have no clue what it really took to do what they did. I'm talking about like warriors in the military. I'm talking about extreme athletes. I'm talking about Olympians. I'm talking about champions. I'm talking about people that go way beyond what's considered normal. Those are the people that are really outside of the comfort zone. And that's the outside the comfort zone that I actually want to talk about. That's the outside the comfort zone that my channel is all about. That's the outside the comfort zone that my life is all about. That's the outside the comfort zone that my business is all about. That's the outside the comfort zone that my entire life is committed to inspiring for people as where the action is. That's where the magic happens. Go read, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Go read The Fighter's Mind. Go read, Siddhartha. Go read Pilgrim's Progress. Go read books about people that do extreme things, that find levels of enlightenment and fulfillment that are so far beyond, the little packaged vision of life that we get sold in this world. And my argument is that's where all the awesomeness is. This idea of a comfort zone, or of stepping out of our comfort zone, but making sure we keep it at arm's length, maybe making sure we keep it as a safe retreat, that's not really stepping out of your comfort zone. All that is slightly expanding the boundaries of your comfort zone a little bit to maybe include some new space so that you can go there but never really have left. All that to say, hopefully you get where I'm coming from, that whether, and I tend to organize life into three categories. There's personal, there's physical, there's personal, and there's professional. And I'm going to suggest that in each of those three areas, we owe it to ourselves to stretch into a place of extreme discomfort. And I like to start with physical. I think that we need to hurt. That may be a crazy thing to say. Somebody may say that I'm psychologically damaging the children or encouraging self-harm or something, that's politically incorrect. I'm not saying to hurt yourself. I'm saying we need to hurt. There is something sharpening about pain. And I'm not saying like injury. Come on, I'm saying like push yourself beyond what feels like your limits. If you go read books by different Navy SEALs, I've read books, at least 3 Navy SEALs, I've read their books. They all kind of say the same thing. They all kind of recount the same concept from Hell Week at Buds in Coronado. And, this seems to be a recurring theme in military practice. And I've read, read some stuff about like Delta Force and the way these guys train. And there's just this whole other level, and you read it when you get it when you read training from any extreme athletes, Olympic lifters, endurance athletes. Read anything about Dan Gable, the great wrestler that won the gold in, I think it was in the late 70s. Read anything about Dan Gable. Like there is just this place that people can go to. Boxers go there, MMA, mixed martial arts fighters, that is so far beyond what most people ever physically endure, certainly by choice, that just sharpens you in a way that nothing else can. And I want to suggest that, just come with me on this crazy journey of saying, I'm going to go do something that hurts so bad that it flashes through my mind that I might die. Now, I probably, for liability reasons, should say consult with a medical professional before you take any of the advice that I'm giving. Make sure that you're healthy enough to tax yourself. But do really, really hard, painful things physically, starting physically. Then do them personally. Go tell your spouse something that you never told them, that you maybe should, but haven't for years. Go sit down and have a really hard conversation with your child or your parents. Maybe talk about something that, heal old wounds, communicate about hard things, tackle hard problems, whatever it is. I think we live this life, we live in this world that we don't outwardly celebrate complacency, because to outwardly celebrate something is to not be complacent. We complacently endorse complacency. It's like this ironic twist where we don't come right out and say, be complacent, because that would be too exciting. We actually just are sort of complacent about accepting complacency. And that's my whole premise here, is that break that archetype for your life. Completely break it, smash it. I'm not talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. I'm talking about eradicating your comfort zone. I'm talking about expunging it from your life. I'm talking about living a life that doesn't even have something called a comfort zone. And go watch, what's it called? Free Solo. Go watch Free Solo, about the guy who solo climbs El Capitan. Start to understand this other world that some people inhabit where the concept of a comfort zone is just a bizarre thing. And really meditate for a moment on the depth of joy and fulfillment that someone like that has in their life. How extreme and almost spiritually disorienting it must be to live like that compared to how most of us live, and all the things that we fret about, and all the things that we worry about, and all the appearances that we try to keep up. I want to suggest, I still have a long way to go, but I think it's beautiful and exciting and to be strived for to try to get there. This life less ordinary. And I want to encourage everyone in that regard. So at this point, if you're still watching, maybe you're on board with this idea. I think at this point, I probably have alienated the people that are really attached to their comfort zone, or that just want to go find a video that teaches them how to make, $100 in the next 24 hours, whatever. This is a bigger conversation we're having. So if you're with me on this concept of like eradicating the comfort zone, completely expunging it from your life, then let's talk about how to actually do it, how to train ourselves to live in such a way that we get to where we're so comfortable being uncomfortable that we get uncomfortable being comfortable. Okay? First of all, figure out what you're afraid of. Do a real hard self-analysis and say, what is one thing that I'm afraid of? I can tell you, as someone who makes a lot of videos for the internet, I had a lot of physical insecurities and things that I had to deal with. I was absolutely terrified of the criticism of people tearing down, how I think I look in this world, or, physically, right? That was a giant, terrifying point of fear for me that in order to ever deal with, or I would have to deal with in order to make videos, and making videos was one really powerful way to deal with it. It was, it's immersion therapy. It forces you into a situation where you have nowhere to go, right? So figuring out what you're afraid of, and then assessing the rationality of that fear. When I started making videos and I had people attacking me for all manner of reasons, and it never really stops. I've put out hundreds of videos, and it's just every time there's more creative ways for internet haters to attack you. It's like they're really creative at being spiteful, but they're really uncreative at actually improving their lives. It's kind of silly that way. But anyways, at a certain point I had to stop and go, what am I really afraid of here? Is there bodily harm here? Like, am I genuinely afraid that they're going to find out where I live and come to my house and hurt me? That would actually be a rational fear if I really thought that was going to happen. But when you actually assess what's happening when people say mean stuff to you on the internet, they're bored, they're lazy, they're small-minded. They probably don't even have the energy to come find me. And that's not a dare, by the way. In fact, Wyatt, cut that whole section out of the video. Or maybe leave it in, and now it'll be funny and we can laugh about it. It was not a rational fear. There's sticks and stones cannot hurt me. It was not rational. And so assessing the rationality of what we're afraid of is the first step to deciding if it's a fear that we need to learn to live without. Because frankly, if it is a rational fear, hey, you know what? Keep it around. But then once you've assessed the irrationality of your fear, like public speaking. People are terrified of public speaking, or maybe it's going on the radio. Maybe it's shooting a video and posting it to the web. Maybe it's talking to members of the opposite sex. Maybe it's talking to members of the same sex. Maybe it's asking for a promotion at work. Maybe it's taking on more responsibility at work. Maybe it's quitting your job because you hate your work. Like, whatever it is, there's probably something that you're not doing because you're afraid of it. Assess the rationality, and when you determine the extent to which it's irrational, which it probably is, because most things are, because we actually live in a fairly safe world now, come up with a plan of attack. And I actually like to pick a fear of the month. And it doesn't mean that at the end of a month you're done with that fear, but it means that each month you're only focused on one fear. If you need to renew that fear for the next month as a focus, you can. You could spend a year focusing on the same fear, but every month you say, what is my irrational fear that I am attacking this month? If it's a fear of public speaking, then for a month, consistently schedule yourself into situations where you're going to have to get up and talk to people and physically stand taller than them so that their eyes are looking up and their eyes are looking at you. And you have to process that simultaneously there's all these people and they're looking at me and it's making me feel weird in space, and I have to deal with it, and I have to keep my wits about me, and I have to still be able to form sentences, and I can't completely melt, and I can't run and hide. I have to deal. It's about putting yourself in situations where you have to deal. You can't hide. And forcing yourself to do that, day after day for at least a month. When I used to be a professional musician, my first 50 gigs as a piano player, my hands shook so bad because I didn't think I was good. I started playing much later than most of the musicians I played with, and I didn't think I was any good. In my first 50 gigs, my hands shook so badly that I would go to hit a key, and I'd end up hitting the key next to it because the range of the shake was greater than the width of the key. I'd go to hit a D and I'd hit an E because my hands were shaking so bad. It took 50 gigs before my hands finally stopped shaking. In psychology, it's called immersion therapy. You just go deeper and deeper and deeper into the thing that terrifies you until eventually the body adapts and your response changes. But it doesn't happen fast. Give yourself a month to attack one irrational fear. And you might get the work done, or you might just be getting started and say, I need to do this another month, and then do it another month, and then do it another month. But be intentional about it. Have it written down. Have a little piece of paper in your wallet so that every time you open, or have it change the screen on your phone so that every time you look at your phone, it says, March, public speaking. Like you know what you're focused on for the entire month. And then the final step is tell someone else what you're doing. One of the most important principles in human personality is that we are many, many times more likely to follow through on something if we create the accountability, and basically it's the desire not to be seen as a hypocrite or the desire to appear consistent with our stated beliefs by telling other people or telling someone else at least what we're doing. So, find someone you trust. Eventually if you develop or you eliminate the irrational fear of what people think, you'll just post it on social or put a billboard up in your front yard or whatever. Just tell the world, hey, this month I am working on my fear of spiders, or this month I'm working on my fear of rejection, or this month I'm working on my fears around money, and create that accountability so someone or some people in your life know what you're doing and they can even check in with you on it. Because if you tell the world what you're doing, you're going to be more likely to do it, because at the end of the month, you don't want to have to answer the question of, hey, how'd that go? And go, I wussed out after 2 days. It's just human nature, right? So figure out the rationality of your fear to the extent that your fear is irrational. Make a plan of attack for it. Take at least 1 month and focus on just that fear and let someone in your life know what you're doing. And this is obviously a process for eradicating fears from our life. But as we eradicate fears from our life, what really happens is we eliminate the excuses, because all excuses, just like anger is a mask for fear, excuses are a mask for fear. Excuses are the stories we tell ourselves to keep us from doing the things that challenge us or scare us. And as you eradicate the irrational fears, you'll no longer accept your own excuses, and you will naturally start to drift further and further out from your comfort zone. And if this becomes a way of life, eventually you'll reach a point where you realize we live in a time where so much is possible. I don't really have much to be afraid of anymore. And how empowering and how awesome is that? I get to play as big as I want. I get to live as out loud as I want. And if people here don't like me, I can move over there, because for the most part, we're free in this world. It hasn't always been like this. People like to make it like things are hard now. Things are so easy compared to any other time in human history. If you want money, you can build a business now. And nobody's going to say, families with your last name aren't allowed to build a business. People with your skin color aren't allowed to build a business. People that believe what you believe aren't allowed to build a business. Like, for most of human history, this was actually things that happened. People said, no. Your last name is too whatever sounding, so we won't buy from you. Like, that sounds so ridiculous to us now, but that's actually how it was for most of human history. Celebrate the time that you live in. Stop being scared. Run the hell away from your comfort zone, so far away that you couldn't even find it. You could never get back to it even if you wanted to. And let's start living life. Cool? All right, so if you're into that, you want more videos about how to do it, subscribe to my channel. I am committed to bringing you frequent content on how to live an awesome life, how to up-level the awesomeness in your life physically, personally, professionally, and I would love to share more of those videos with you. So subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click the bell so that you get notified when new videos come out, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.